Hello, Roll Mithril here once again, getting back to Mag Mammal 2, and it's time to discuss the judge commentary on the last two stages. So, starting with 69th, Nat Gaming 101, Dragon Lab Lair. Snowrun Pyro. It feels incredibly empty, and the ideas just seem randomly thrown down. There's no real coherent theme, it's just rooms of stuff. Sometimes there's just like one easily dodged enemy for a whole screen with absolutely nothing else happening. Then the level just catches you off guard sometimes by actual forced hits, the Lekman block room, and one really annoying part I just cheesed with Jewel Satellite, 2 new Shotmans, and Sniper Joes. Other than that, there's not much going on. A lot of the setups are extremely basic and don't really do anything new. The Mega Dragon fight at the end doesn't even have a pit, which kinda destroys the whole point of the boss. It's a really weird level. Jupy Hornet. First off, you didn't change the music. Why? Because Galaxy Man's theme is really good. Anyway, this was a weird level. The tile set wasn't used very well, and the whole thing just felt strange and without a real theme. At least there appeared to be some effort put in it. Angel. This level starts out decently, but quickly loses its focus and starts throwing the player into unfair scenarios, which force them to take a hit. As the level goes on, it starts using elements without proper introduction, and in tricky scenarios. The level's boss fight was, from my experience, less difficult than getting through the section after the player exits the water. Overall, this level's main issue is its lack of general theme that could have been used to create setups and situations, and create mutations of those to keep the player excited. Gariri. I'm not a huge fan of this stage. Most of it just feels boring and empty, it uses default music, and some sections are atrociously unfair. I don't really know what else to say. There's nothing interesting about this level at all. A-Spark. First impressions are not good. Please replace the default song. I don't know that that's fair to judge on. I mean, Galaxy Man's song is really good. It's not their fault it was the default music in the dev kit. That might have been the worst tile set selection possible for a full-on level. Mega Man 2 Wily 5 is a boss rush stage. It wasn't built for an entire platforming level. There's nothing really good about this. What few gimmicks are there are used to the bare minimum of implementation, with like one exception. The final set of Sheepman blocks provide mild peril. There are some major flaws in this stage, though, that knock its score down. Too much forced damage, pits are rarely designated as pits, enemies placed right next to screen transitions. It's fairly clear that this is a first draft of a level. Fortunately, the level isn't broken or anything, but it's still pretty bad. Lastly, making a dev kit boss easier than its original incarnation sort of defeats the point of using a dev kit boss. So yeah, that is one thing. I guess Mecha Dragon was a dev kit boss, but I do wonder how much the designer here actually changed. Like, obviously there wasn't a pit, but I do wonder if the movement was changed at all. Like, I noticed while playing the stage that the Mecha Dragon was only firing one fireball at a time rather than the fireball spam it can do in the real game, and its patterns were also very solidly pattern-based. It didn't move up or down any more than it normally does, just that kind of V pattern forward and back, and that's all it ever did. So, I have no real knowledge of what was in the dev kit exactly, so I don't know how much they changed that. Anyway, thoughts on this stage? Mainly, it did just feel kinda empty. And yeah, there were definitely some forced damage rooms that I wasn't too crazy about. But yeah, overall, I do feel like the major problem of this stage was it did feel kinda empty. So next up we have Chingoku Colorful Hall. Snowrun Pyro. Neat idea, but the design of the level in general is just bad. There's a lot of just nonsensical rooms. One that comes to mind is the mini-boss fight with the guys from Yamato Man's stage. The idea is to knock over the Pooker and ride on the Pooker for the fight, but there's just a block off to the side you can park yourself on and murder the mini-boss. There's also some obnoxious rooms, too. The blue room with Sniper Joes is extremely annoying and cramped, and the jumps with the guts lifts are pretty annoying too. And really, the level doesn't really do much with its color gimmick. You'd think that based on the red part, all the colored parts would have colored enemies according to what color, but no. The level just kinda gives up on that. The memory game at the end is incredibly confusing and unclear, and it took me a few deaths to actually realize what all the signs in the level meant. And then for some reason the platform for the third sign isn't actually solid, so you can't read the sign and you have to just guess which shaft won't kill you. Then after you complete the memory game, you get the secret exit, and then you have to redo the entire level again for the other exit, the only difference being that you just have a random Gutsman fight with overly dramatic music. The level is just bleh. Jupy Hornet. Very badly designed level. The yellow part with the guts lifts was very hard compared to everything else. In the blue section, the spikes blended in too much with the background, and you could barely see them when you were focusing on avoiding enemies. The memory game was pretty ridiculous, and I fell through some of the spikes and directly onto a power muscler, which was seemingly unintentional and happened because the spikes didn't have a set collision. I don't think this level was tested enough. Angel. I don't like this stage. The basic idea of 4 differently colored halls is nice, but the only thing it does with this idea is a quiz that requires knowledge of the Shrek movies. I feel like there could have been much more done here, such as racial segregation of enemies by color or no quiz at all. Somehow I found each hall to be less intriguing and fun than the last, with many enemies everywhere in basic and often not very fun positions. I'm also, as you can tell, not a fan of the quiz. Secret exits shouldn't require a second complete playthrough of the stage, and whatever I did, I could never read the third hint, as the top half of that room is lacking collision or something. Overall, should have done more with its concept for sure. Gariri. Nothing interesting here. I don't appreciate the really cheap level design, and nothing in this level was particularly interesting. The memory quiz at the end was confusing, not to mention how buggy the level is. Camera glitches, missing floors, etc. I don't know. I didn't like this one. And Ace Spark. This was a roller coaster in quality. That is not a good thing. Maybe this is a stock market crash and quality would be a better descriptor. This level started off positively enough. The initial red area was actually rather good, and had a fairly decent gimmick setup. Actually introducing us to the fact Fan Fiend is in the level would have been nice before the spikes, though. Then there's the blue area, which tasks you to dodge Hammer Joes atop a platform you have no control over. I've dodged these guys exactly once, as well as utterly pointless, easier than the original mini-boss inclusion. But I think the yellow area kills this level dead. Going after the first nickel results in unavoidable damage. Fun, right? And the Metal Man crushers require really tight placement of Mega Man. And then there's the vertical climb. This made me feel a bit ill. We have the following: vertical scrolling, Guts Man lifts, Shadow Man platforms, lyrics, and requiring the use of wire adapter on a moving platform. These do not combine in the slightest to any degree of reason, and forcing the player to constantly jump in a vertical segment messes with your eyes. Yeah, it really does. Oh, and your memory game. It's kinda borked. I can't even read the last hint, as the platform is broken. This leaves the last challenge a complete guessing game. At least since pretty much every judge mentioned that, I know I didn't miss something. There's a boss here, but forcing the player to replay the entire stage twice in order to get both elements is crap. You know, people hated it when Ghouls and Ghosts did that too. So, yeah, I kind of agree the stage had some interesting ideas, but the execution was kind of flawed. And yeah, the final hint during the memory quiz was just... that was weird. I'm glad I wasn't the only one that had a problem with that. But yeah, I will give it credit at least for the other exit. There is at least something you have to do for it. It's not just, okay, you went this way, instead here's an empty room and your energy element. There was at least some effort into having something else there. But yeah, having to go through that entire stage twice, that was a bit much. But with that, that's where we're going to call it for now, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you're enjoying the series so far, and I shall see you again next time. Until then, fare thee well.